everybody. This is Tony Dominic with your 4th of July 2020 edition of A Moment or Two or 20 of History. And with me is the effervescent and intelligent as heck, Sherry Spencer. Hey, Sherry.
Hey, we're doing number 14 today.
Well, you know, what's interesting is that I'm sitting here in the boxcar, number 38, that's over at stop 65. And that's where our party was today. You know, we had over 100 people go through and celebrate the Independence Day party at Avon Lake. But I think this is a perfect segue for what we're going to talk about today. What do you think?
Well, I think that since you are already in the car, that we ought to take a ride on the Lakeshore Electric Railway. What do you think?
I think it is so appropriate. I was looking forward to this little 20 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever it turns out to be for a week now. So take it away.
Yeah. Well, first, maybe we want to share with our folks that the Lakeshore Electric Railway, for which Electric Boulevard was named,
hello,
has been called the greatest electric interurban line in the nation back in its day.
And it had the most luxurious cars. And it was an amazing, it continues to be an amazing story.
And fast service, that was another one of its great features, from Cleveland and then to Toledo, and then eventually all the way on through to Detroit.
Well, and what's amazing is if we go back into the late mid-20s or, all the way up to 1938 when it finally shut down, this electric trolley car went 60 miles an hour. 60 miles an hour back then, that was like Tesla today. Because they were silent, and there were certainly a lot of farmers that didn't want the tracks going through their property, and there were people who were injured because they had no idea how fast that car was going to go. But it's such a rich part of our history.
And it has been credited with building up Avon Lake to what it's become today.
And I would even say it's been responsible for building up our region, because people came out on the Lakeshore Electric Railway to spend a day at Beach Park, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's the beach and it was a park. And they started to discover Western sprawl and started to move out here. And the waterworks was built then, and the power plant was built in 1926 after it burnt down. The current one was built in 26. But it's a fascinating story. So where are we going to start?
Well, let's pretend that we just boarded in Cleveland, downtown Cleveland.
Okay.
And we have just come to the Avon Lake border. Okay. The very first stop that we're going to see as we cross that line is going to be stop 40.
And some of you who are old like myself might remember stop 40, because when I was a child, that was the school bus turnaround. And there was a big yellow house there. Sherry, tell us about that house.
Well, the big yellow house there was occupied by the Hines family. Mr. Hines was very active in local government, Avon Lake local government back in the day.
So he wasn't the ketchup guy?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, not even spelled that way. H-I-N-Z. And in fact, in a couple of places, I have seen it spelled H-I-N-T-Z. So I
yeah.
don't want to swear to either spelling, but we'll just go with Hines for now, okay?
Yep.
It was Fred and Augusta Hines.
Augusta. Nice name, Augusta.
And they bought that house in 1884. 1884 they bought that house, and they bought it from some farmers. And at the time of purchase, the farmers made them promise, the new owners promised, that they would be kind to the eagles that lived behind that house and ate from Lake Erie, got their fish from Lake Erie. So, we've got Stars and Stripes today, our pair up at Redwood, that have produced year after year after year. But long before Stars and Stripes, there were the Hines Eagles. Yep. Well, if we sound the whistle and resume our trip, we're going to head on up to stop 41 now. This is a
Ah,
fun one.
yeah, this is a fun one. Yeah, what was going on? Stop. Every moment of history, I always have to say something about booze.
Yeah, well, you're okay. Get off
So
at
now
stop
it's
41.
booze.
You're in the right place. Because at stop 41, that was the location of Lake Road Inn. And Lake Road Inn was located, if you know where Highland and Cove are, those little intersecting streets with
Yep.
Lake Road up on the east side of Avon Lake, that's where the Lake Road Inn would have been, on the south side of the street.
Well,
So
growing up, it was an amazing place, and I used to hear stories about Guy Lombardo beginning his career at the Lake Road Inn. So I did a little research, and I found that he, in fact, did play quite a bit out in this part of the world. But the Guy Lombardo Museum has no history of him living here in Avon Lake.
wow, obviously,
They're wrong.
Lombardo Museum is bereft of early Lombardo history.
Bereft. New word.
Yes. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about this establishment. 5,000 square foot dancing floor.
Wow, they could actually do social distancing.
Dining room capacity of 400. Dinners, they serve dinners, and we're noted for these dinners. You could get chicken or steak or fish dinners for $2.50 a plate. And
Wow.
the dancing went from 6 p.m. until midnight. So you could dance the night away if you
Wow,
wanted
that's
to.
good. That's good. What happened to that place?
Well, you know, on October 14th, 1926, there was a mysterious blaze that leveled the place. And it was of, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Incendiary origin.
Gosh, I don't know where you get these words. You must study.
Basically, they burned it to the ground.
Yeah.
And what was particularly interesting is it wasn't just the Lake Road Inn that was one of the catastrophes. There was a series of fires along Lake Road of the roadhouses, if you will, which is what you know what they served.
So why do you think these things burnt to the ground, Sherry? What was was it just a mysterious kind of thing, or what?
Well, you know, there are a lot of theories that have been floated out there. We don't have a true answer, but you know what? If any of our viewers want to share any other theories, it would be really nice if they wanted to call Heritage Avon Lake, leave their number, and you or I or both of us will get back to them.
Well,
we would love to hear their stories.
I would I know my great uncle Carl Tominick was sheriff at that point, and yep. my cousin Carl Tominick, my dad's cousin Timer, had called me one time to kind of give me an idea about, did you ever hear about the Lake Road Inn burning to the ground? And it was kind of mysterious, but I have my own suspicions because of the prohibition that was going on. There was some real dastardly deeds going on back then.
Dastardly.
Yeah, thank you.
Ooh.
Thank you. See, I read.
Either that or you watch cartoons.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that guy.
He ran into the villain who was pretty dastardly.
Yep.
All right. Well, you know, Lake Road Inn is burned down, so let's hop back on the Lakeshore Electric Railway.
So that was stop 41, right?
That was stop 41. So we're going to go to stop 42 now. And the stop 42 was the Stein home. The Stein family had lived there. And the Stein family, he was in the wallpaper business. He was very successful in the wallpaper business. It was in Cleveland. But, you know, the Depression came along and they lost their home in foreclosure.
Oh, jeez.
Ultimately, it was purchased by the Christian Science Church, who ran it as a church for quite a few years. And then that was taken down and a beautiful new residence built in its place. And, you know, if you're interested, Tony, in living on a piece of historic, well, not just bare land, but
yeah. Well, you know, what's interesting is that I remember the church very well. and the Lakeshore Electric rail bed, or the tracks as we called them, ran right directly behind there. And, you know, until recently, and within the last 10 years or so, I really didn't think about it. But, you know, that church, I remember that church going up for sale, and I thought to myself, how cool would it be to live in that thing? You
Yeah.
know, it was
Yeah.
just a cool old building.
Yeah.
Amazing. It's amazing. That's stop 42.
Yep. That's
By
not
the way, just so everybody knows, I didn't say anything, but the stops were numbered after every time the Lakeshore Electric had a stop. They numbered it. So that was stop number 42.
So let's hop back on the Lakeshore Electric Railway. And, you know, I'm flummoxed here. We've had that word
Nice.
before.
Yes, I like flummoxed.
But I want to stop at stop 43, but I can't. Why?
Well,
With that?
you know, this is a bit of interesting history. Drew Penfield, who has an incredibly thorough website called Lakeshore Rail Maps, I found out years later that there was never a stop 43. It went from 42 to 44, and Ted Kekick apparently just arbitrarily decided to call himself Stop 43. People marketed their businesses predicated, big word, on, you know, where the stop number was. That's how you navigated it around our town. So it was easier for him to say Ted Kekick's or Kekick's gas station at stop 43 than it was to give an address that probably in his day nobody would recognize.
So Tony, it sounds to me like what you're saying is that Ted Kekick was prevaricating and creating some history that maybe
that's it.
Artificial.
That's it. I just, you know, that's why I enjoy talking with you, Sherry, because you know, you just raise the ambient level of my nomenclature and my language. Thank you so much for that.
Okay, well, back on the Lakeshore Electric Railway.
All right, we're gonna. I'm still in the car, so we're banging along.
Okay, and you know, for today's purposes, we'll just make one more stop.
Okay.
And it's stop 44. And I almost hesitate to say this because I know I'm beating a hornet's nest, but would that be Tomahawk Drive?
Oh, yes, no. It's actually called Tominac because it was the very first stop in our town that had a shelter. The shelter, in fact, was in my grandmother's backyard for years and years, and it still may be there because I have always wanted to go look. And they misspelled the name. I think they misspelled our name by calling it N-E-C-K, Tama, like a neck, instead of N-E-K. But that whole section, Kekick's, was all my great-grandfather's farm, and it was, you know, eventually all sold off and parceled up. And everybody remembers Kekick's. Everybody remembers that stop and that little orange airplane. We've talked about it. August 15th, 2020, we're going to have a dedication to the new airplane that will be going up soon. I love talking about the Lakeshore Electric Railway. And eventually, if all the stars are in alignment and we get all the things we need to get done, we're going to have a museum that says Beach Park, which was the original name of Avon Lake, by the way. And it will house an incredible collection of Tom Patton's Lakeshore Electric Railway stuff. It's amazing. So, well, we got anything left? You want to just kind of end this?
Well, it's time to get off the railway right now.
Really?
The whistle's blowing, and you know.
I can't wait to talk about Stop 45 in our next meeting. But so I wish everybody a safe and happy holiday. I hope your 4th of July was wonderful as ours was. We had a wonderful time up at Stop 65. Enjoying the community, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody on. I think everybody's up to 6 people now.
Oh, you know what? I thought there might be 7 because there was it's either that or somebody rewatched us, and it's an artificial 7. But
I don't know.
I'll take it.
I'm thrilled to talk to everybody. It's a beautiful summer day here in the wonderful shore of Lake Erie in my hometown, Avon Lake, Ohio. So until next time, it's Tony Tominac and
Sherry Spencer
saying ta-ta for now.